Morning, Rosenort. Dave Thiessen, coming from Grand Island, Nebraska at the Husker Harvest Show. You're watching R360.
Good morning, RedHawks, and welcome to the Truth and Reconciliation broadcast of the R360 News. I'm your host, Hudson Cornelson.
And I'm Cyrus Hamadani. It is Thursday, September 29th, and day 6 on the school calendar.
In our lunch report, we have cheeseburgers and chips on the menu for today.
On Monday, in the Hawk's Nest Cafe, will be chicken burgers with veggies. Please note that there will be no student council meeting at lunch today.
Thank you to all the grade 9 to 10 students that helped out with reffing the grade 5-6 soccer tournament yesterday.
You all did an amazing job, and the tournament couldn't have been run without your help.
The tournament also couldn't have run without Mrs. Nix. Thank you for all of your planning and for the million "when do we play next" questions that you answered this week.
Grade 5-6s, stay tuned to the news on Monday for your soccer tournament update.
As you can see today, it is Orange Shirt Day at Rosenort School.
We wear our orange shirts to acknowledge and recognize the tragic legacy of residential schools, missing children, the families left behind, and the survivors of these institutions.
Because the Manitoba government is committed to advancing the truth and reconciliation, they have created a day of opportunity by giving us time away from our regular school schedule tomorrow on September 30th.
This day is meant to be a time to learn about these parts of Canada's history, a time to hear stories and understand the experiences of the Indigenous.
It is a time for truth-telling and learning in order to lead us into action to build a more inclusive and brighter future for all.
As you and your family spend time reflecting and seeking to understand more of the story of Canada's Indigenous people tomorrow, take some pictures and/or videos about your activities and learning and submit them to redhawks360 at rrbsd.ca.
We would love to share the meaningful activities that you participate in on the R360 News in the first week of October.
It is the last day for Student Council Looney Wars.
And to keep things intense, we will be keeping the totals a secret heading into the last day. Just know that the grade 9s are currently in the lead and it's a tight race throughout. so every dime and nickel counts.
Your RedHawk of the week is Christian from grade 1-2B.
During recess, while all the swings were full, Christian gave up his swing to a student who was waiting for a turn.
Christian's teacher says that he has been such a great addition to the grade 1-2B classroom.
He does a great job following directions and completing his assignments. Keep up the good work, Christian.
It's Trivia Thursday! Teachers, get your chat windows ready because your prize for today is a brand new Every Child Matters orange shirt.
Let's check out the question video.
RedHawks, it's Trivia Thursday, and this morning you have the chance to win this brand new Every Child Matters t-shirt, courtesy of Mrs. S. Your trivia question is, what province did Orange Shirt Day start in? The inspiration for Orange Shirt Day came from residential school survivor Phyllis Jack Webstad, and it all started in Williams Lake, BC. Congratulations to the winner, and thank you for participating in Orange Shirt Day.
You're lucky.
Congratulations to Donovan Schmidtke. Your prize will be delivered shortly.
The R360 News team has very happy birthday wishes going out to birthday quadruplets Rachel Lowen,
Adrian Kilroy,
Chloe Blythe,
and Olivia Lynch, all for October 2nd.
Happy birthday, Rachel, Adrian, Chloe, and Olivia.
As we sign off the air today, we have a special Truth and Reconciliation feature for you, as our grade 12 student Liam Como will be reading the Orange Shirt story to us.
Thank you, Liam.
Have a great day at school, everyone. This is Cyrus Hamadani.
And Hudson Cornelson signing off. Have a great day at school, everyone.
When Phyllis was a little girl, she lived with her granny on the Dog Creek Reserve, part of the Secwepemc-Zagatum First Nation. Their home had no electricity and no indoor toilet. In the summer, when the sun was hot, Phyllis would cool herself off in the bathtub full of water that Granny kept in her garden. Phyllis and Granny lived off food that they grew in Granny's garden and berries from the land. Granny and Phyllis would go to the Fraser River and catch fish. They would eat some fish for dinner and dry the rest on the drying rack to save for winter. They didn't have much, but they got by with what they had. Growing up, Phyllis felt lonely. There weren't many children on the reserve to play with. Each September, all the older children, like her cousin, would leave the reserve to go to school. Phyllis looked forward to the day that she could go too. Phyllis didn't get many hugs when she was little, but she did have Granny, and Granny's house was a safe place for everyone on the reserve. There were lots of people who came to Granny's house for help and advice. Phyllis's favorite place to be was Granny's kitchen. When Phyllis turned 6 in July, Granny made her a cake to celebrate her birthday. Granny told Phyllis, now that she was 6, she was old enough to go to school. When September came, she would go to the residential school, St. Joseph's Mission, for the first time. Phyllis was excited to go to school so she could play with her cousin and the other children. She wanted to find out what happened there and hoped she would make some new friends. Before her first day at school, Granny took Phyllis into town to buy her a new shirt. They didn't have a car or a truck, so when they went to town, they would take a blue bus that they called the stage. Going to town was exciting. They took the stage down a noisy and bumpy dirt road. Soon the bumps stopped and the noise hushed. Phyllis looked out the window and saw a paved road whizzing by underneath them. The town was so loud and busy, with people and vehicles everywhere. There were shops to visit and restaurants to eat in. One shop had a red and white pole outside. Phyllis watched it swirl round and round, and she wondered where the stripes were going to. Granny took Phyllis to a restaurant, and they sat at a booth with a mini jukebox. When Phyllis dropped a coin into the slot, the box would play a song for her. Phyllis ordered breakfast with 2 eggs. When they came, they were sunny side up. It was like they were looking up at her from the plate. Phyllis didn't know how to eat them. Granny's eggs were always scrambled. After breakfast, Granny took Phyllis to a shop that was filled with clothes and toys. Phyllis picked out a shiny orange shirt that laced down the front. It was bright and exciting. She felt as excited about the shirt as she did to go to school. Granny bought the shirt, and they got back on the stage and went home. Phyllis held the bag with her orange shirt in it all the way. She promised herself that she wouldn't wear it until the big day when she went to school. Phyllis waited and waited, and finally, the day arrived. Phyllis, wearing her shiny orange shirt for the first time, said goodbye to Granny. Granny patted her on the head and said, "What loves it?" Phyllis got on the stage with all the other children and waved at Granny from the window. It was a 2-hour journey to get to the residential school, much farther than Phyllis had ever traveled before. She stared out of the window, waiting to see the place where they were going. When they arrived, Phyllis started to feel very scared. The residential school was so much taller than anything that she had ever seen before. The building seemed cold and unfriendly, as unfriendly as the nuns who came out of the school to meet them. Phyllis asked her cousin how long they would stay here. Her cousin said that it would be 300 sleeps before they could go home. 300 sleeps? That sounded like forever. The nuns took all the children inside and walked them down a long hallway in single file. In a room, the children were undressed and made to take a shower. Phyllis had never seen water coming out of the walls before. Phyllis didn't want to take off her shiny orange shirt, but the nuns made her. After she had showered, they gave her different clothes to wear. She didn't like them. The nuns put Phyllis in a chair and cut her hair short. She asked for her orange shirt back, but they told her that she wouldn't be allowed to wear it anymore. Phyllis cried, "Give it back, it's not yours, it's mine. My granny bought it for me." But no one would listen. The residential school wasn't where Phyllis learned. It was the place where the children slept and ate. Phyllis soon realized that the nuns didn't care if she was tired, sick, hungry, or sad. She had to rely on herself. It felt as though she didn't matter. At dinner time, Phyllis and the other children would eat tasteless and almost colorless food. There were pale green moon-shaped beans that tasted awful, and there was smelly fish that definitely wasn't the salmon that she and Granny used to eat together. At night, Phyllis wondered why Granny was not coming to get her. She would cry herself to sleep in her dreams. In her dreams, she would play in Granny's garden and go salmon fishing in the river. Each day, the children went into town to attend public school. Before boarding the bus, they picked up a small carton of orange juice and brown paper bags with their lunches inside. Some days, 1 or 2 children got a chocolate bar in their lunch. Everyone looked to see if they had one too, but their lunch bags just had sandwiches in them. It felt like the grown-ups were playing a cruel joke on them. Phyllis took the bus to public school with her cousin every day. The bus driver dropped her cousin off at a different school. Phyllis wished she could go with her. She didn't understand why they couldn't be together. At school, Phyllis learned to read and write with all the other boys and girls, but she was still lonely. All the children from the residential school were lonely because they had been taken away from their homes and their families. Her teacher was a curly-haired redhead. She was as nice as she smelled. She would smile at Phyllis and help her with her lessons. Phyllis wished she could go home with her teacher at the end of the day. She made being at school bearable. Phyllis liked her teacher, but she was no substitute for Granny. She wondered what Granny was doing while Phyllis was at school every day. Phyllis missed her home and the garden. She started counting the days until she can go back home. Each day, the number got smaller and smaller. She waited and she waited. The other children at school could order books from a book club that none of the residential school children were allowed to get any. Phyllis didn't understand why they were treated differently. She wanted a bug too. Why wasn't she allowed one? In the playground, she was just like all the other boys and girls. At lunchtime, everyone played together. Phyllis learned to swing on the swings. She would go wrap her swing around the pole and watch it unwind. The best time of day was when the bus came to pick them up after school. Phyllis always saved a seat for her cousin. When it came to her stop, her cousin would run on the bus and plop down next to Phyllis. Sometimes she would bring onions that she picked on the school grounds. Her cousin would say, "Want some?" And Phyllis would laugh at her onion breath, but Phyllis was always so hungry. She would grab an onion and eat it like an apple. Her breath smelled just as bad as her cousin's did. On the bus, they learned to sing songs together. They sang, "We are the missions, mighty, mighty missions. Everywhere we go, oh, people want to know who we are, so we tell them, we are the missions." The seasons changed from fall to winter, then to spring, and finally, it was summer again. Phyllis was excited about going home. She never wanted to go back to the residential school to see the cold-hearted nuns ever again. After 300 sleeps, the stage came and took Phyllis back home to the reserve. She was so happy to be back at the place that she mattered, a place where people cared about her. That summer, she stayed at home with her granny. She stayed in her familiar house and worked with Granny in the garden. She went fishing for salmon in the Fraser River, and she ate them for dinner. She had everything she needed, and she never wanted to go back to the residential school again. Not every child was as lucky as Phyllis. The end.